Welcome to the Church Brand Guide Podcast. This is Michael Persad. I am so glad you're here today. We are focusing this episode on church planting and how to establish a brand from the ground up. How do you establish something that's going to help you launch and draw people to something that's brand new? And later on in this episode, we're going to be talking with a pastor who is planting a new church, a brand new church in the Nashville area. Before we get there, I wanted to unpack a couple of big ideas of what we have learned as an agency in serving church planters. So if you're out there and you're a church planter, you're getting ready to start this new church, or maybe in the future you're going to do it sometime, or maybe you've already started and you just want to get some information about how to get your branding where it needs to be. Well, this episode is really going to help you. Maybe you're even a designer that's out there and you're a freelancer. Maybe you're on staff as a designer and you work with church planters or will come along some church planters in the future. This episode is designed to help you understand the needs of a church plant, especially when it comes to branding and media, and how to meet those needs in a very budget-friendly way. So one of the big things with church planting is that the budget is limited. So you're not typically able to go all out, but you still need the core components of a brand in order to reach a good amount of people right off the bat. It's a lot of hard work to establish a church, and you have to establish something before you can start to build and grow and get to where you need to be. So you need that help. You need that brand in place so that people can see the vision and want to be a part of it and be attracted to it. But then again, on the other side, you can't spend a whole lot of money doing that. So we've come up with a nice package that we provide for church planters that really helps them get started, and it's just enough to get them going in the right direction. So this package that I want to tell you about is just to help you out. If you use us or if you use somebody else, here are 4 things you can develop to help you plant your church and get it started right. The first thing is a logo. So you need to get the church name nailed down and then come up with a great logo. And the real value in the logos is more the branding process that goes into developing a logo. So you're going to have to decide who you're called to reach and what you're going to do to reach them. So that process of figuring that out should help the designer to create a logo, a mark that represents you well and allows you to connect to people in that community. So not only is the design important, but the process leading up to the design is very important to think through. We have a resource that's free on the blog, the churchbrandguide.com blog, that you can download. It's a questionnaire that gives you 18 questions when designing a logo, 18 questions to ask. So if you haven't done that questionnaire, I'd encourage you to get that and download it. Answer those questions. It'll help you get the right brand established for your church. And the second thing you need is a website. So you need a web presence. Even if you haven't launched yet, even if you're months away from launching, you should start to develop a website and a web platform. So the website becomes the front door to your church, and you have to think about it strategically as a tool for your church. It's almost like an employee, maybe your first employee. What do you want it to do for your church? Do you want it to capture some emails and phone numbers? Do you want it to present information? Do you want it to maybe give some information, a download of some kind that people can get to support you? Maybe there is a donation piece to it. But the website can be such an effective tool to help you get started in ministry. And you have to think through that and get it developed as early as possible. The third thing that you need to do is develop a printed piece. So this is like a brochure that you can hand physically to people. And the power of a brochure is that it allows you, when you have a conversation with someone, to leave them with more information so that they are able to follow up with the conversation that you've had. So the conversation can happen one-on-one, or it can happen in a group setting, or even in a large group setting where you might be presenting to a large group of people. So you should have some printed piece that you can hand to people. And the key to the printed piece is that it should be very attractive and look substantial. One of the tips that I have is that you not do a trifold, but avoid a trifold, because people see trifold brochures all the time. They tend to grab it and throw it away. But if you could do something unique, maybe it's a unique shape, maybe it's a square, maybe it's something that's different, and maybe it's a heavier stock of paper, and you put some more effort into getting it well designed, present that information in a way that's very visual and attractive. That really helps to set the stage that what you're doing is substantial and that people can get behind it. And the fourth item that we recommend doing with a church plant is to have a video. The video is going to be a way to communicate the vision in a short amount of time, but also in a way that's emotional. So you want to answer the question, why us, why now in this video? Why us? Why are we needing to do this, and why do we have to do it now? And in the video, I recommend that you show the area that you're going into as a church plant and begin to talk about the needs that are there. And then you need to present your plan to reach people in that community. How are you uniquely equipped to do this work, to reach people in this community and to help them out? Even if that plan changes, it's okay to present something. You need to present something because people want to know that you have a plan and that you're not just going in there and hoping for the best, but you're really going in there with great intentions, and people want to know that so they can support you with their time, their prayers, their money, or maybe even go with you to help you do this. So those are the four components that we recommend in our church plant package. So this is to help churches really establish a brand in a strong way and get going as soon as possible. All these are done very in a very simple way, so there's not a lot of cost to it, and we can get a package put together and produced fairly quickly, so a quick turnaround. So those are a couple things that we've noticed with church planters. Usually time is an issue, needing some stuff pretty fast, and then also the other issue is that budget, making sure they can get as much as possible with a small budget. So in this episode, the rest of this episode, we're going to interview Jarod Smith. Jarod is planting a church in the Nashville area in Mount Juliet, just on the east side of Nashville. And he's moving from Kansas City, where he's been a worship pastor in the Kansas City area for about 5 years, and is stepping into this calling to plant a church in Tennessee. And Jarod just begins to unpack the process that he's gone through with us to help him create this new brand for the church. So it's very early on in the process. He's just moved to the area. He's just now getting the groundwork in place to begin to gather people and figure out where they're going to meet. And he's probably 6 months away from actually holding a service, like a first service. And so we're involved with Jarod in the very early process. And I thought it'd be great to have him come on the podcast and just begin to unpack from his perspective this very early phase and how it's affected his moving forward as he begins to get people interested, or try to get people interested in supporting him in different ways. So let's welcome Jarod Smith to the podcast. All right, so I'm here with Jarod Smith, and he's going to join us on this episode of our podcast. And Jarod's he's a new church planter. He's been a worship pastor for quite some time, and has recently been in contact with us to help him launch a new church, and he's right in the middle of this. It's just at the very, very beginning stages. I think it'll be a really neat story that we can unpack over the course of time as Jarod goes through this process. But right now, Jarod, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, let's just get right into your story. Like, what is it that has led you to this point where you are now going to be launching a church?
Well, for my wife and I, it's kind of a unique story. We didn't grow up in the church. I guess I could say we grew up around the church. And when we met each other in our early 20s, we were both serving in the military. We were active duty. And that was around 2000, year 2000. And we got married in 2001, September 11th, 2001. Was a day that she and I actually had scheduled off together. And we watched those events happen, and long story short, later that evening, we actually surrendered our lives to Jesus together in our living room. And so since 2001 to 2016, the past 15 years, we've gone from just attending church, where we started serving in churches, and music was a gift of mine. So that led into being on worship teams, and then started working with youth, and so student ministry, and then college young adult ministry. And I've always served in the ministry of worship somewhere along the way. And so I've been in a lot of different roles just as the result of responding to the gospel, 15 years ago, and looking for an open door to serve. So here we are, the close of summer 2016, and we've been really blessed to be a part of a church for the last 5 years that really has a heart for mission, church planting, starting new works. And we're looking at launching New Tribe Church in January of 2017.
Yeah, so where did the name New Tribe come from?
So, yeah, that's a great question. New Tribe Church, the heart behind it probably could be summed up if you just go and you read Colossians 3. And just in short, to paraphrase, it's this idea that, there's no slave nor free, nor Greek nor Jew, nor white nor black, nor barbarian, Scythian, right? There's just all of these distinctions in culture and ethnicity and race, all of these things. We know that in Christ we are as one. And so there's just a little New Testament, theology behind this idea of new tribe. Obviously, the Bible has this narrative of tribe. And when we look at that, really what my wife came into was this simple definition, which is a tribe is this: a collection of families who share a common inheritance. And for us who follow Jesus, we're a collection of many different families, young, old, single, married, mixed families, whatever it is, and we share a common inheritance, and that's Jesus. So that's a little bit of the history and evolution of the name New Tribe Church.
Yeah, we've been working with you in recent months and weeks to help develop this branding for the church. And New Tribe's been fun to work with. It's a neat just concept, and so we've come up with a few different pieces. And when we're working with the logo, one of the big things we always try to unpack is, who are you called to reach? What's the group of people, or maybe the concentric circle of those types of people look like for you? So can you walk us through that with you? What do you think New Tribe Church, like who are you called to reach?
Yeah, there's always the temptation to say, we want to reach everybody, which I think the heart of every church planter is you want to reach everyone. But if we could really narrow it down, I would say that it would be young families. Definitely millennials would fall into that category as well. But there's a new generation, and church planting is something that's happening not just in our nation but all over the world right now. And I believe that for lack of other terms, the best market for church planting right now is millennials and young families. So I guess I would say those would be our two target groups, that we're really hoping to reach.
Excellent. I love hearing a pastor, just begin to realize, or not begin, just realize the fact that you're not going to be able to reach everyone. Right. Everyone's a big target. But yeah, the fact that you can narrow that down allows you to be attractive to a lot of people. The more focus you have, it's kind of counterintuitive, but the more focus you have, the more attractive you are to a wider range of people. So as you move forward, well, first of all, let me put a little bit of context to where you're at. You're actually going into the Nashville area, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you explain and unpack the Nashville area? Why'd you choose to go there?
So when we started this journey, something I looked at my wife one day and I just said, hey, if we're going to go, let's go where the people are going. And so we just started researching and studying, what are the fastest growing cities in America. And one of those areas that kept popping up was Nashville. That was in particular interest to us just because we have, my family lives 3 hours to the west. My wife's family lives 3 hours to the east. So that particular area struck our interest. The more we begin to dig into why Nashville is a fast-growing area, it got more exciting because it's a leader in industry development and job growth, and there's also lots of leisure activity and hobbies and professional sports teams. I mean, it has like this great recipe to draw people. And so, and I could go on and on and on about other statistics that we've read about church planting, about the greater percentage of new residents will attend a new church they're more likely, when you plant a new church, you're more likely to receive or to bring in new residents. So to us, it was just like a no-brainer. It's like, now we just need to hear from God. All the stats are there, all the facts are there. Is this a place you want us to go? And so really over the course of 2 years of praying, we began to zero in into that area. And so that's where we are today.
Yeah, and so what has been the biggest challenge? You're early on. You're I think so. You're coming from Kansas City, so you and I have been going to the same church. You've been the worship pastor at the church I've been attending for a long time. We've gotten to know each other, just kind of working together. You're a few weeks after the announcement of like the fact that you're going to go out there and start this church in Nashville. So what has been the biggest challenge that you faced, even early on here, trying to establish a new brand and letting people know about what you're trying to do?
I think for every person who dreams, probably the most difficult thing is to articulate the dream or to interpret the dream so that others can experience what you have seen, whether we call it visions or things that have been spoken to your spirit, just things that stir inside of you. And now you have to make that vision plain for people to see. And that is a struggle that I was willing to engage because I didn't want to take it lightly. I wanted, when we started doing branding and talking about videos and what it looks like and what it feels like, I just wanted people to be able to capture, even if they just got a glimpse of what we have been envisioning, for a couple of years now. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but as far as the struggle has been, how can we best articulate or interpret what's going to be the greatest expression to allow others to see New Tribe Church as we have seen it in our dreams and in our conversations and the things that have been spoken to us. So, but it's been a struggle that I've been willing to engage in. So.
Yeah, when we were talking about this whole thing and helping you create this brand, one of the big things that came through to me is that you're extremely passionate about this. You've been thinking about it for a couple of years, and it's been growing inside of you for a couple of years. And as we began to have conversations, we'd meet up from time to time, and like something new would be unveiled. And to me as an outsider, it's like, man, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. There's this car wreck that happened, and all this crazy stuff that happened. There was a story that you told me, and I was like, oh my goodness, So there's all this passion that you have, and now you've got to start to communicate the passion that you're feeling and that God has given you to this group of people, not only that are going to go with you to help plant the church. There's a small group of people that potentially are going to move from Kansas City to Nashville, and that's cool. That's a big leap for those guys. But then there's another group on the outside of that inner core that can support you with prayers, with finances. There's another group of other churches that can support you as well in different ways. So you've got to communicate over and over again and articulate this passion, this why we need to do this now mentality. So that's what we've been working with you on, is like, how do we do this? And the result for us has been so far a really good, compelling logo that kind of puts that all together. A brochure, a printed piece that you can give or hand out or somebody can take with them. Keep on the coffee table. We designed something that's meant to be it's kind of elegant enough to where it just sticks around. You're not going to just toss it away. It's not a trifold you just toss away. It's a little bit, it has a little bit more to it. And then the idea of having a video that tries as best as it can to capture the emotion behind what you guys are feeling. Yeah. Do you want to expand on any of that?
Just once we settled on a logo design that we felt really, it was creative enough, it was engaging enough so that people saw it and they said, man, we really like your logo. And then they would say, what is New Tribe about? So to me, that was kind of the first indication that, okay, this is winning right now, because we don't have to explain. That's not what we have to do first in conversation. It's appealing enough that people are asking, hey, what is this? Which that's a great win. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is, the video that we were able to create. It wasn't a very long video, but it really did allow us to have something that was that was shareable. You know, we really live in a society where people love to share things. Well, they love to share things that they like or they think are inspiring. And so, you know, the video was great to have because it allowed us to engage social media, and it could be shared time and time again. This handout that we had created, I've gotten so many comments about this handout because it puts information in people's hands, but it also puts a brand, a image in people's mind. So now they have information, but they also have an image. And somehow, I guess it's just the way the human brain works, it almost legitimizes your cause or what you believe in. Because when you take time, this is what I'm learning right now, when we take time to struggle with branding, when you finally get that piece in someone's hand, or they watch that video, or they see your logo, or they go to your website, people can really see that you care. And I think if once they acknowledge that, whoa, this is a nice piece, this is cool, sometimes they don't even pay attention to the cause. They just see that you really are serious about this, and you almost win their favor immediately, because they say to themselves, wow, if they believe in this much, then this must be legitimate. So I guess I've just been learning that through experience, watching people's reaction and hearing people's compliments. And all of these things, really, they're conversation starters, and they just give people a broader understanding of who you are and what you're about. And so it's really been worth it, you know, the whole process of getting this thing out there.
I'm glad to hear you say that. So in my mind, in theory, that should be the goal of it. You know, why do you spend so long wrestling with a logo design? You know, why do you spend so long really going through, you know, what a brochure looks like and picking out the right stock of paper and, you know, making it a unique shape and all that? So in theory, the idea is that people see that there's something significant about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when they see something nice, that's the idea. It's like, man, this is really well thought out.
Yeah.
You know, I can get behind, you know, giving and donating towards this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's substantial enough. Jared's got his stuff together enough to where he's gonna succeed. So in my mind, as a branding, you know, somebody that creates brand, that's what I'm thinking. But it's good to hear you on the other side saying that is the response that you're seeing, is that people are seeing this as a very significant. This is not a short term, you know, kind of blow in, blow out type of thing.
Yeah. You know, there's, I don't want to over spiritualize, you know, branding and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, just sitting here right now, I'm trying to imagine, what if we never actually see Jesus, but we just have all these ideas about God? And, you know, the New Testament tells us that Christ is the image of the invisible God. The manifestation of God's presence and God's power in the person of Jesus changed everything in our world. And I think that goes without saying. There's something about seeing what we believe in. And although us today, you know, as his followers, we have not seen him, you know, we are believers not only in Jesus, but the testimony of his witnesses. And so what you see, and there's even one passage that says, what we say to you, you know, we've seen with our eyes, we've touched with our hands. And so I'm just having this image right now of how important it is to be able to manifest what you believe in to other people. I think about I'm just thinking right now about the Gutenberg press, and when the first you know, Bibles began to be pressed and mass produced, and how that just changed our world. So, you know, we have this tendency in the church as pastors, as Christian leaders, to maybe overlook the importance of putting stuff in people's hands that catches their attention. Let's just call it, you know, manifesting the vision or whatever it is. And you know, it's not that we have to do these things, but when we take time and we do them in the right spirit, with the right motive of reaching people and informing people and making the vision plain and clear, when we do that, you know, I want to say this, I really believe spiritually it has an impact on people. There's something about the time that you invest, the preparation that you put into the process, that is in itself an act of worship. And I really believe that. You know, we use words like marketing, but that's not our end goal, right? We're not trying to increase our profit margin. We're trying to reach people. We're trying to bring the kingdom here on earth. And I think that if in your heart, if that's your motive, I think God sees that. And so I just feel like his blessing is on that process. And then when you finally get to see someone's reaction to something that you've worked hard on and that you've prepared, you realize that, wow, it was worth it, and this is part of it. This is important as knocking on the door or meeting that person and meeting someone in person and telling them about your church, or it's all part of it. So anyway, I could go on and on about that. Kind of a long answer.
I love it. You're kind of spurring me on too. So as a person that takes a lot of passion in helping people like you, churches, to get that vision and that passion communicated across. I remember one day I was reading about Moses, and he was in the wilderness, and God gave him instructions to build a tabernacle. And he gave him all these measurements and everything, and then God instructed him to go get some help, because Moses wasn't an artist. He wasn't somebody that could actually craft and make these things.
Right.
So he had Moses go get this guy named Bezalel, and Bezalel was an artisan in that camp. And Bezalel was able to take all the measurements and everything that Moses had received from God. He'd taken that vision for the tabernacle, the house of God that God had instructed Moses to build, and then Bezalel was able to create the actual physical manifestation of that. So with his artistic abilities, he was able to then make that a reality and represent God in that community with the tabernacle.
Yeah.
And he also had a team of people. Aholiab was one of his people, and some other craftsmen that he kind of led out. So that's always been an inspiration for me. Like when God showed me that, I was like, man, that's what I feel like as what we do, where we can come along and really help the vision that God has given you become a reality to build a house of God in a community.
Yeah, absolutely. We just a couple of weeks ago, it's kind of becoming a nationwide tourist attraction. It just opened early July, but it's a biblical proportion Noah's Ark, and it's in Williamsburg, Kentucky, and if even right now, just a plug, go see it. It's about 40 miles south of Cincinnati, but it's built to the Bible specifications. And when I walked up and I saw it, I just kind of stood there in awe, and I couldn't escape the fact that these are blueprints that God gave Noah, in a time when the earth apparently had never seen rain, had never seen what was about to come, and just like you said about God sending Moses someone, he also sent Noah through his family, those who were skilled in metalworking and all this. The Bible's just so full of stories of how God creates partnerships. He pairs one skill with another skill, but it's all the same. No matter what the story is or how the narrative may differ, it's all the same. It's to advance the kingdom, it's to make his name famous. And he does. He works through our creativity. I mean, he's put these creative ideas and these creative intuitions inside of each of us, which is why I think when we see something beautiful, whether it's something in creation or something that we've created through, through art or whatever it is, it's why we see it and we respond to it, right? This is all God-given stuff that's inside of us. And so when we're patient and we're willing to pair our skill with the skill of another's for the same purpose, advancing the kingdom, making God famous, I feel like that it's very consistent with what we see throughout all of the Scripture. And so anyway, just kind of adding to your story about Moses and the tabernacle. That's a good word. Yeah,
it is a skill. It should be a skillful execution. I'm reminded of Samuel when he was looking for the next king, and he came to the house of Jesse, and he saw the sons of Jesse, and they're big and strong, and Samuel kept on thinking it was one of those guys, and it ended up being David, who's out in the pasture. Well, there's a line in there, I believe it's chapter 16 for Samuel, but God says that, people look at the outside,
right,
but I look at the heart.
Right.
And there's actually two statements that are being said. God looks at the heart, and I think we grab onto that a lot of times in church world, and that's important for us to know. But the first part of that is that people look at the outside.
Yeah.
And as a brand designer, I always tend to gravitate towards that. Hey, let's not forget that people look at the outside.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's important to get that part right. It's important to get a good logo, to build a great website, and because that's what people look at.
Yeah.
God will work eventually, bring them in to work on their heart.
Yeah.
But that initial perception is important.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. I totally agree with that. And I think it just requires patience, with ourselves as believers. Right now, passage that's coming to mind is that how dangerous zeal without knowledge is. To be zealous and to not apply knowledge to that zeal, or that's zeal is not a word we use a whole lot, but to be what's the word I want to say? To be really passionate about something, but then to have no visible application of that passion, it's just a mistake. We can be passionate about something and we can have crazy ideas, but if we don't slow down and take time to skillfully map out what we want the world to see, the truth is many people will be impacted just by our passion. If we never write anything down, if we never put anything on a screen, if we never portray it in a way that's creative, some people will be moved by our passion alone. But if we'll take time and skillfully craft what it is that we're so passionate about, now the multitudes will see it, more people will see it. And here's the cool thing: when we're gone, it's still there. So it has a lasting impression.
So what is the vision of your next step? So you're doing the internal launch now, and I believe your plans are in January you'll do this external launch. Can you maybe unpack what that's going to look like for you in the next several months?
So even as you asked the question, it's kind of an interesting phase, because we start with the logo, the look and feel, and all of this sort of thing, and now we kind of slow down and we focus inwardly. Now that we feel like we're at a place where we've kind of legitimized our look and feel and our vision, we've made the vision plain and clear for people to see, right? So now we have some time to slow down and really focus on, okay, who's our team, right? Who's our launch team? Where are we going to meet? What's our strategy for meeting in the community and drawing other people? And so this is actually, I'm really enjoying this phase right now, because that first phase of making the vision plain for people to see, we're kind of in a resting phase where it's like, all right, now let's take all of these things that we've put out there for people to see, that we've shared, and through meeting with people and sharing our vision. Now let's take all of that passion and let's focus that on the infrastructure of who we are. We got to build it, right? Now that people are seeing the vision, we've got to start putting the pieces together on the inside that create a strong framework, so that when we launch in the community, which I'll just call that phase 3, not only do people come in and it looks great and it feels great and it's just like the video we saw, it's just like it's just what I expected, but there's people there, the infrastructure is there, the framework is there to grab a hold of that momentum and keep it going. So that's where we are right now. It's a little bit of a slower moving phase.
Mm-hmm.
Has a lot to do with developing people, developing relationships, and just helping our team grow more confident in who we're going to be and how we're going to present ourselves before the community.
Mm-hmm. So what is the vision? What's going to be unique about New Tribe Church in that community? Even not from other churches necessarily, but just from that within that community itself. Do you have a clear picture of that yet, or are you still developing that?
This is one sort of question that I kind of tiptoe around, because I never want it to be about comparison. Like, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to do something no one else has ever done,
mm-hmm.
right? I never want to think that way, honestly, because really that has nothing to do with it. I'm sure when I look at America, man, what I see is America doesn't need more churches. I do believe that America needs more life-giving churches, and where people can come and when the moment they walk in, they can expect to have an encounter with the presence of God. I mean, that's what we're doing, through praise and through worship. What's another expectation that they can have? They can expect that they're going to hear the Word of God preached. They're going to learn more about Jesus, what it means to be a follower, what it means to live in fellowship with other believers, and then also what it means to, engage with your neighbors. So now I'm kind of talking more pastor stuff, and I'm kind of veering off creativity, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, outside the packaging, the packaging hopefully will draw people. When they get there, the people that are there, that when they rip open the packaging, the people they encounter, hopefully the people that are there, our launch team, will share those passions that I have. And so when people come and they see something they like, they meet people that they feel like are authentic and real, they encounter the presence of God, they're going to walk away with a memory of what New Tribe is all about. So it's really, when you ask me that question, rather than saying, well, I feel like we're going to do this, man, and we're going to be great at this, really, I want people to walk away with a great impression of what church can be like. And so, like I said, there may be some great churches in that community, but hopefully when people walk away, whether they come back or not, they say, this is what I would like them to say, man, New Tribe Church, those people are really all about Jesus, and they love people. And it's a cool place to be, it looks cool, it feels great. Of course we want to have excellence in our music, excellence in our creative use, and I want to have excellence in my preaching and teaching. So anyway, I can go on about that, but I don't know, maybe that helped.
That's good. No, I think there's a book it's called Good to Great. Jim Collins wrote it. It's a business book written several years ago, back in the 90s. But he actually talks about this idea, I think he called it the hedgehog principle, being really, really good. In fact, the best in the world at something. But the idea is not that you're reinventing something. The idea is that you're just narrowing your focus. Yeah. So you're being the best in the world in your community at something.
Right.
So I think that's, in a lot of ways, just a different way to say what you've said. You want to you're going to be in Mount Juliet, which is right outside of Nashville on the east side of the city.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you're going to create this community, this thriving, vibrant church community, where Jesus can be known and lifted up, and in a way that maybe in that community nothing else is doing that in that immediate area.
One thing that I will say is there's this actually is here in the Kansas City area, but there was this church going around there, and if you know this church or you've put these signs up, then no offense or anything, but anyway, the sign said forget about everything you know about VBS. And then I'm not going to give the website I told you to go to, but they were trying to advertise, their version of VBS. The thing was that they were sticking these signs like in the these corner grass lots that are at an intersection, and several of those intersections had churches on them. Several of those lots, and so I was thinking, oh man. So you would see in the kind of in the backdrop a big banner that was like VBS, join us this week, and then out by the stop sign you'd see this thing stuck in the ground that said forget everything you know about VBS. So that's that whole level of comparison I want us to steer away from. But I will say this about our name and about our vision, New Tribe Church. The name, and I maybe I'm going off topic here, but I think when choosing a name for our church, this isn't for everyone, but when we chose the name New Tribe Church, we knew that was going to catch the attention of some people. Now, in the Southeast, whether it was the Bible Belt or not, and whether the Bible Belt is, has come loose and the pants are falling off, whatever the situation of our nation in that region of our country is, here's the truth. There's a lot of churches down there. A lot of those churches are declining in membership. And when you see in a conservative area, when you see a name of a church called New Tribe Church, it's already going to elicit some questions. And we've already had people, ask us, New Tribe, what on earth is that? What's that about? Is that part of is that part of some group or something like that? And I think that right there in itself is going to give us an opportunity to really express to the community who we are, what we're about. Obviously, it's about people. It's about people getting together. We're going to have a place a lot of value on the lives of people, and spend a lot of time building relationships that last and encouraging faith in others that moves mountains. And if that's one aspect of our church that we're known for, if the crazy name or the different name or the look is it's a little different or whatever, if that draws people, but they walk away having an authentic encounter with God and seeing what the church can be like when His people really do reach out and build relationships and encourage one another, then in the end, that's a win for us. So we're going to have to really earn our name in the community, because having a cool name and a cool look is not enough. You know? So I'm aware of that. We're going to have to earn that, and we're going to work hard to do that. So.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting journey. I would like to follow along and see how you're doing as you move forward and you do the launch, and then you go beyond that, and how this becomes a reality. So it's all conceptual at this point. You're hoping the best for everything. You've got some ideas. Once you actually get in there and you start to do some stuff, you'll get some feedback, and then make some adjustments and everything. So in the future, I fully intend to invite you back on, and let's figure out, let's just talk about how this has gone for you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, like leading up, this is very early on, but focusing on relationships is a big deal, for you. And so just we were brainstorming ideas just the other day about, hey, what if leading up to the launch, we just told stories of the different people in the launch team.
Yeah.
And then let those stories just be out there and just present this idea that they're very real people that had very real problems with a very real God that has helped them through it. And that becoming part of your brand, this culture of storytelling,
Yeah. Well, churches talk a lot about relationships, and we've tried every, program and methodology there is out there to build relationships. And, obviously one of our strategies is small groups, and being really intentional about the design and structure of those small groups. One way I've been saying it is we don't want small groups to be something we offer. We want it to be who we are. I want to be able to ask anybody in our church, hey, who's your two or more? And they don't say, what do you mean? They can immediately tell me two or more people who they're in fellowship with, who's holding them accountable, right? Who's challenging them to grow, who they can call in a moment's, in a moment's notice. If we can figure this out in the church, I think we've learned well, especially in America, how to draw big crowds. And for some reason, that doesn't even bother me. Maybe when I was younger, I thought, man, if we could have a church of several thousand, that'd be awesome. But now I feel like we've kind of figured out how we can do that. What I think the church has still struggled to figure out is, how do we build relationships that last? And so that's a real challenge that we're going to face, but we're committed to that. It's obviously the first phrase in our vision. But I think about, and this podcast may be dated, but what's going on throughout the course of this summer with people gathering together to protest all over the nation, and people grouping together. People want to be a part of something, whether it's for positive or for negative reasons. Mm-hmm. People want to feel like they can identify with other people. And so, it's like whether that means, putting a hashtag on your social media comment so you feel like you identify with that group, or you organize, a protest, or you go and you join part of that, or whatever it is. For good and for bad, people all over the world, especially in America right now, people are yearning for belonging. They want to belong to something. And so, here's the truth, man. If other organizers out there, thinking about an organizer I saw on the news the other night, how they were interviewing him on how he organized people. And how did he do it? He was utilizing social media. He was having interest meetings, right? He was having these small meetings, and he was gathering people together, telling them what they're going to do, setting a date, setting a time, letting them know what we're about. We can do that too as a church. We can organize, for lack of better terms, rallies. We don't call them that, but we can be intentional about bringing people together. And so I think we just got to think a little smarter, work a little harder, and I think we'll really start to see a lot of positive change in the church here in America. So anyway, man, you got me on a soapbox. Sorry about that.
Perfect. No, that's perfect. I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people like to just follow you and kind of figure out how things unpack for you in the next several months and even beyond that. Yeah. So do you have a website already up?
Yeah, you can go to newtribe.church, or you can do newtribe.com. You can check it out.
Okay.
Either one of those, so.
And is there a good way to follow you?
Yeah, you can follow my personal Instagram or Twitter, and it would be JAROD_Smith. So Jarod Smith at Jarod Smith, and that's Instagram or Twitter. Also, you can check out our Facebook page for New Tribe Church. We're, as far as I know, we're the only one. So just type in New Tribe Church, and you can follow us there. And those would probably be the two easiest ways. At New Tribe Church, you can find on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Okay. And we'll be working with Jarod from time to time, so we'll try to update, on what's going on. Use you as a case study and on some of this stuff, and yeah. I'm sure it'll be interesting. So New Tribe Church, there's only one, is that right?
Well,
that you know of?
This is, you really start digging on the internet because you want to know, is there any other out there? I have found just through Google that I don't know if they're still meeting or what. From what I can get, it was maybe I think it was in the Memphis area. And so I don't know if they were a small group or they were an actual church or whatever, but they don't have a website or anything like that. I have seen there's a New Tribes Missions. I have no idea what that organization, where they are or what they're about. So I don't want to say, exclusively, New Tribe Church is the only one, but it's the only one right now that's got a Facebook account and a website, right, and Instagram. Like, we've secured all those things. So I don't know. That answer your question.
Yeah, nice. Well, congratulations on finding like the only unique church name out there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the podcast. It's really great that you shared, your heart, and we dug into scripture even, which I think is great. I think it's just something that we can get inspiration from scripture. Like, it's in the Bible more than just about everything's in the Bible. So it's good to unpack that too. But thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I want to say thanks again to Jarod Smith for coming on and talking to us about New Tribe Church and what he's doing in Nashville here starting in early 2017 as his public launch. So if you want to find out more about Jarod, he left some information there for you to look him up and be able to follow his progress. We are working with Jarod to help him through this process. So I think it's a neat opportunity where you could see a lot of the things we talk about on this program, this podcast, and also on our website. You could get to see it in place. So the idea, I think it'd be great to have Jarod back maybe in 6 months and see how things have unfolded for him, and then have him back again maybe in about a year's time, and begin to see how this is this whole process is helping him to establish this new church in Mount Juliet, which is just on the east side of Nashville, Tennessee. So thanks again, Jarod, for coming on and really sharing just your insights on the whole branding process as you're very early in the stage of establishing a new brand in a very new community for you. The package that we talked about with Jarod and what we talked about earlier in the program included 4 items. It's the logo, website, brochure, and video. And in our recommendation, that is what you need to establish a strong brand for a church plant. Those 4 items as far as media is concerned. So before your church is launched, if you have those things in place, then you should be set up well to get people on board with the vision and help you just establish this new work that you're going to be doing. One of the things I want to put out there is that if you're doing a new church plant, you need to find somebody that can help you just guide you through this process. So as a pastor, maybe you're a creative person within the organization that's just going to help to get the creative elements pulled together. You need to find someone that can help you through the process of branding, that can challenge you in different ways. In the interview with Jarod, there were some questions that I asked that were just challenging to Jarod. And those weren't the first time that I asked him those questions, so he was better prepared on the podcast to answer some of those questions. But when we first met up and we were talking through some of this stuff, he didn't have answers to the question of who are you uniquely called to reach. So the idea that I challenged him on was everyone's not a good answer. So you need to find the targets that you are uniquely qualified to reach based on the people that are with you, your own abilities, the resources that you have at your disposal. Who are you going to be able to best reach in that community? What's the biggest need in that community that you see? And let's set some some targets that we can shoot for, that we can be laser focused on, so that we are as attractive as we can be to those groups of people. And there's some challenging questions that we've asked him. One of the other big questions that we ask is, do you want to represent who you are to the community, or do you want to reach the community where they are? So as we're developing the brand, the logo, colors, everything else, are we trying to reach them where they are, or is the approach to call them to where we are? So there's not a right or wrong answer to that. There's really good answers to that question. And as you're developing a brand, you could be on either side of that. But if you need to have a good answer to it, and once you have a good answer, then we're able to develop a brand that really is effective in reaching people in whatever approach you want to try to do it with. So find someone that can help you through this process. We would love to do that. Of course, we're located in the Kansas City area and can work with anybody throughout the country and have been doing that. But find someone that could help you do this as you are launching your church. Because when you get this brand set up right in the initial stages, then it really sets you apart. And not only from other churches, that's not really the goal. The real goal is to set you apart from other things in the community that people have options to do, from the football game, and sets you apart from the movie theater, and sets you apart from any other activity, bowling, any other activity that somebody can choose to do in that community, and sets your church into a position where they feel that it's substantial. So you should build a brand, get a logo design that's a very good logo, a really high quality video, high quality website, high quality brochure that's unique and different. Has some of the elements that we talked about, a heavier stock that just is substantial. So you're giving the idea to people that this is worth your time. This is worth your energy. This is worth your money, your donations to be a part of. It's worth your prayers. It's worth coming to, because we're going to help you, and we've got a plan for you, and God's got a plan for your life. So you want to reflect that in your branding, and that really takes a good amount of knowledge and know-how to establish. Finding a high school kid that plays around with Photoshop is probably not going to get you where you need to go, and it's so important to get that first impression right. So I would recommend, finding either an agency or just a professional, maybe a freelancer, maybe somebody in your church that is very, very capable, but somebody that really knows what they're talking about to help you make that great first impression. And you only have one chance to do it, so make sure it counts. Make sure you make a good impression as you develop these 4 different items. Of course, there's going to be many more things. Signage in the facility. There's going to be a bunch of other things that you can do. Facebook ads, postcard mailers. So as you get closer, but these 4 items should really get you started. And on our website, my passion, my heart is to provide as much information as possible to help you on your journey of creating an effective church brand. So we have a lot of resources to help you through this. So churchbrandguide.com has a questionnaire that you can download to help you establish your logo. So it's a good challenging questionnaire that makes you think, makes your team think about who you're trying to reach and how you're going to do that. There's another questionnaire about a website, so it'll help you think through what your website needs to do for your church. It should be like an employee that works for your church, so that questionnaire will help you get there. There's another download that is a story structure. So as you're telling stories with video, you can have that to guide you through like what is a compelling story that people are going to be emotionally involved in, in a very short amount of time. So there's a resource up there for that as well. So we'll also put links to New Tribe Church, so you can check out their logo and what we've done for them. And you can also check out our portfolio on the Persad Creative website, which is the name of our agency. And you could just see what we've done with other churches, maybe give you some ideas of what you need to do for your church and your church plant. So hopefully that was very helpful to you. Also coming up, as I am pursuing my passion to help churches, I'm putting together a book about church branding right now. It's a book that's going to include a lot of the information that we talk about, but it's all in one place, step by step, to kind of help you through this process, help you get your mind wrapped around it. And I feel kind of a calling in a way to put together a resource like that. And it's going to have a lot of other materials as well included with it to help you through this process. So it's going to, not only the book, but the idea that I'm working on is putting together a whole bunch of like PDF documents and even samples that you could just have as a part of it, so that it makes sense. You can see what other churches have done and what maybe you can start to do with your own brand. So that's coming up in the fall of 2016. I'll announce it and let you know for sure when that's all put together. But it's something I feel compelled to do, and so I'm going to just obey and do it. And hopefully that's helpful to a lot of you. The resource I want to share with you today, the book is called The Artisan's Soul. It's by Erwin McManus. And every week in the podcast, I like to share a resource that's been influential or just can help you in some way to create a strong brand with your church. So Erwin McManus is a pastor, and he wrote this book, and it's really about being creative and leaning into the creative energy that God has given you, the creative ability that God has gifted you with. No matter who you are, every person, every human being is gifted with an ability to be creative, and we're supposed to step into that. So Erwin makes a great case to convince you and to help you realize that you are creative. And one of the things he makes just a great point with is that God created animals with certain abilities. A beaver builds dams. A bee builds hives and produces honey. Well, God created people to imagine. That's what we do. We imagine things. And and then when we do those things, then we create an amazing work that God can use. And of course, the enemy, the devil, uses that in the opposite direction, where we can imagine destruction. But Erwin, in this book, he just really challenges us to use our imagination that God has given us, that creativity, to really step into some bigger and greater things with your life. So I thought this was a good fit with the church planting episode, because of the idea that a lot of you church planters that are out there, there's just this big, compelling, imagined vision that God has given you, that you're going to do something in amazing in a community and impact many lives. So you're stepping into this artisan's mindset to be an artist in some way and to do something that's going to help people to step into a greater life. So I think this book will help you just begin to step more into that mentality. Even if you're not planting a church, it's a great read just to help challenge you to be creative, to think big, to dream big, and to step into all that God has put inside of you, to discover what that is, and then to step into it and do some amazing things. All right, so hopefully this podcast has been helpful to you, and I've enjoyed putting it together. I enjoy talking with Jarod and on all the different resources that we talked about here today. So give me some feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if this stuff is helpful to you. If you need more information or you have some questions, I would love to follow up with that. So you can go on the blog and leave a comment, or you could just connect with me directly on through the blog website. There's different ways to connect with me. So I'd love to hear from you. Leave a review on iTunes, or even go to our Facebook page and just make some comments on that as well. All right, so hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.